this is an economic development item. This is an RFP to get professional consulting services to come in and help us take census and business data and produce it into a format which is usable not only by the city as far as our whole economic development activities go, but also it's critical information and data links that we can provide to some of our best businesses here in Auburn. It's the combination of census data, but also critical key business data that's out there. Item number 7 is the amendment to department director employment agreements. This involves the city's director of administrative service, the police chief, and the fire chief. And what this amendment does is it is allowing the provision of bonuses under the American Rescue Plan Act. This allows for those department directors to receive the same benefit that was negotiated with our 8 represented and non-represented bargaining units that we have within the city. It's the same amount. The annual fiscal cost is about $14,200 in each of 2022 and 2023. It provides for both of those. They're one-time bonuses. It's non-PERSable and is actually reflected in the city's current policies as far as being able to give bonuses. This is a transparency issue as far as the ARPA monies go. So we have documentation on that. Item number 8 is a professional services agreement amendment with Jacobs Engineering Group. This has to do with the helicopter landing and parking area project that we have out at the Auburn Airport. Unfortunately, the rigors of going through the FAA have facilitated a need for us to extend this contract. What this will do is it'll actually get us to the point of moving towards construction bidding and actually getting this project done, but we've had to make the contract amendment. And that is the consent calendar.
Thank you very much. Very, very well done. So do I have anyone that would like to pull anything from the council?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to pull item number 4, please.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. And do I ask the public about this?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Is there anyone from the public that would like to pull anything? Jackie's talking behind. Oh, okay. Nathan?
I think he's just
Oh,
getting ready
okay.
for number 4.
Okay. So do I have a motion for the remaining items?
I'll move approval of the consent calendar minus item number 4.
I'll second.
Okay.
Councilmember Spokley,
Yes.
Berlant,
Aye.
Hey, we can hear you.
Dowden Calvillo,
Aye.
and Mayor Amara.
Yes. Okay, so item number 4, which is the delegation of authority to the city manager to make determinations regarding industrial disability retirement and to submit employer originated disability applications. My understanding is right now that's what the city council does, but it's going to be delegated to the city manager.
Yes, and I just had a question on this item. I understand that these issues normally come to the council and that there is an issue of privacy. I can respect that. We can't hear these things in closed session because they don't meet one of the criteria. There's only very few under the Brown Act. I wanted just to request that since this was or currently is a city council responsibility, I would like to ask that if the city manager invokes you initiate the disability or industrial disability retirement, that you let the council members just know that you have done that, just so that we're in the loop. I know our city manager is great about keeping us in the loop on things, but this is a personnel matter that normally, we don't need to know about all personnel matters, but if we are going to initiate the disability or industrial disability retirement, I just would like to just know that. That'd be great. Otherwise, I'm fine with it.
No, that's not an issue. And actually, we can provide at least some type of notification that we are processing in industrial disability retirement.
Perfect.
At the end of the day, it's a public, the retirement is public.
Okay.
But the idea of bringing it into open session and going through the details
Sure.
represents the privacy issue because
Yeah.
inevitably, it's actually a workaround on HIPAA.
Yeah, and I understand that. And it's kind of strange too, because yes, HIPAA protects so much, but it's, yeah. So it's just a request that I don't know if we need to incorporate that into your resolution, but just basically a request that you would keep us in the loop whenever you initiated that. I don't
Right.
think that happens very often, but just, that would just be my only thing.
Would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we direct the city manager to notify the city council when he initiates disability or industrial disability retirement.
I'll second
Okay.
that.
And you want to make a motion to pass the resolution though, right?
I will do two separate motions since
Oh,
I
okay.
just made a motion that we can do it separately.
Okay.
Okay, I will roll call. Councilmember Spokely,
Yes.
Berlant,
Aye.
Bowden Calvillo,
Aye.
and Mayor Amara.
Yes.
And then, Madam Mayor, I'll go ahead and make the motion that by resolution that we delegate authority to the city manager to make determinations regarding industrial disability retirement and to submit employer-oriented or originated disability applications.
I'll second.
Councilmember Spokely,
Yes.
Berlant,
Aye.
Bowden Calvillo,
Aye.
Mayor Amara.
Yes. Thank you very much. Okay, this is the time where public comment. This is the time provided to the that the public may speak to the council on any item not on the agenda. Please make your comments as brief as possible. The council cannot act on the items not included on the agenda. However, the items will be automatically referred to staff. Council members also have the option to speak on any item not on this agenda at this time. So anyone from the council have anything they'd like to say to the public?
Just under public comment, I just wanted to make a note. I did post this on my Facebook page, but obviously we just recently had the state designate the boundaries for state assembly and Senate and also the congressional seats. So there will be some changes to Auburn. We will be starting with the primary in 2022, will be in the 1st Senate district. But we'll also have parts of Auburn, the city limits in the 6th Senate district. So it's a very strange boundary. It's literally drawn like on a Etch-a-Sketch kind of a thing. So the city proper will be represented by 2 senators. We will be incorporated in the 5th Assembly District, which we are now, but the district itself will be changing significantly. It will primarily be comprised of Placer County and up, and I believe that our current assemblyman will not be able to run unless he moves. So that's Frank Bigelow. Also, we will be in the 3rd Congressional District. Currently, we're in the 4th, and that district boundary has also changed significantly for us as well. So just some changes to the boundary lines and also to our representation moving forward. Just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you. Anyone else? And anyone from the public? Okay, thank you very much. And we will move on to council business. The first item is appointment of members to the Wildfire and Public Safety Advisory Ad Hoc Committee. And I think who's going to present this?
Well, I can give you a quick background on that. At the last council meeting, the city council continued this item until tonight. You have a spreadsheet in the staff report that lists applicants that applied for this committee. You have a couple appointments to discuss. There's one category that has 2 applicants, and Councilmember Spokely as well needs to make his appointment. If you continue and form the committee, they can start meeting and we can continue to advertise for applications for the couple of positions that it looks like we will not be filling tonight.
So, okay, thank you very much. So, yeah, first of all, I would like to thank everyone that applied. And we have, for the most part, they have been filled. There are some vacancies. So we have a couple of opportunities. We can, well, there is one with two. We'd have to make that decision. And then there's some that need to be vacated. So we can appoint tonight, and I'm not sure what the timeline was for starting. But I think we had discussed that it would be 120 days total. But in any case, and I'm not sure how people feel about having people continue to apply and come on. Matt, did you have something to say?
I just want to clarify for the rest of council. I do have an appointee. I will work with him to get the paperwork filled out and
Okay.
submitted. We've had conversations about it. He's excited to jump in and help out. So I'll get that paperwork into the clerk and we can approve him hopefully at our next council meeting.
Great, thank you. I had urged some people too. I know it's very difficult, and there's one person in particular that still has to fill out paperwork too. So, yeah, so Ms. Councilwoman Dowden-Calvillo, do you have something to add?
Well, I'd be ready to make a motion on the appointments whenever you're ready. But
Okay.
I'm very excited to see that we have these individuals that have submitted their application. Obviously, looking forward to Councilman Spokley's appointee to fill out his documentation. I believe, Amy, we have to have that documentation before we can make an appointment. Is that correct? So we cannot appoint him without the application?
Correct. So once the application is received, I can just bring it back on the consent calendar at the next meeting
Oh,
for
okay.
appointment.
Oh, good, okay.
All right.
And what about, what do you think about I think there's two for the environmental protection?
Yes, well, myself, I was gonna, in my motion, I wanted to recommend that we appoint Tim Woodall into that spot.
Okay.
In the environmental position.
Okay. Okay, any input from the public? Seeing none, do I go ahead, have a motion then?
All right, I'll make a motion that we appoint the following individuals to the Wildfire Committee, Wildfire Committee Advisory Committee. Steve Galliard, Aaron Gowala, Debbie Greenacre, Lynn Tennell, Linda LaRue, Frank, oh, I'm gonna, I know Frank, but his last name here. Uda, help me out.
Frank, you.
Frank Yu, yes, Bernie Schroeder, Tim Woodall, and then, of course, we don't need to appoint them, but the Chief Spencer and Chief Canan also.
I'll second
Thank
it.
you.
I'll go ahead and second that.
Roll call?
Or is there any, Councilman Berlant, did I thought I heard you say something.
No, I support the motion that's on the table. I was going to try to second it, but I know there's a little bit of delay, so I'm not good with the roll call.
Okay, thank you. Thank you up there.
And for the record, there was no public comment received on this item.
Thank you.
Councilmember Spokley,
Yes.
Berlant,
Aye.
Dowden-Calvillo,
Aye.
and Mayor Amara.
Yes. Thank you very much. The next item is the introduction and first reading of an ordinance adding Chapter 54 to Title 5 of the Auburn Municipal Code regarding the mandatory organic waste disposal and related requirements under Senate Bill 1383 and Senate Bill 1383 regulations.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of the council. Before you tonight is the same ordinance implementing SB 1383 that you heard last year at our meetings right before the holidays. There's two important changes, though, based on our conversations with Recology and also feedback from the council and the public. So I'll go through those two changes. Won't rehash the ordinance, though, as a whole, because we discussed that at a prior meeting. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them. The first change is a change to whether or not organic waste goes into the gray bin or into the green bin. There was some back and forth with Recology over that. The regulations require that there be a mandate, but don't specify as to the 2 or 3 or single bin process. Recology is currently planning on having all of it go into the gray bin and then sorting it at the plant later on. The ordinance has been changed so that now there's a new defined term, designated container, quote unquote, which allows Recology to specify which container the different types of waste goes into. Currently, they're planning on putting it all into the gray container, but this definition allows more flexibility for Recology and also for the city going forward, without the need to revise this ordinance if things change in the future. Perhaps if the sorting changes or if they decide for some different process, this will allow that to be implemented without a need to change the ordinance. So that designation could be done with a decal on the bin. There's examples of some jurisdictions that do that. Communications with the customer, perhaps through the bill, and also on Recology's website. So there's other changes throughout the ordinance that talk about designated containers, but that's the gist of that change. Previously, there was an ability for the city to waive collection frequency. Right now, the ordinance requires weekly service. Recology requested that change because they only provide weekly service, and that's all they're capable of doing. The regulations give the option of certain waivers, including for things like frequency, but don't require it. So that's not a state requirement, doesn't have to be in there. And because of the service level that Recology provides in their request, that's removed from this version of the ordinance too. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
I guess I have comments. I don't have a specific question, but I have some comments.
Councilman Berlant, are you with us?
I am with you, and I do have a quick question. I was curious, Gary or John, if you have any additional information on the Waste Management Agency's bid protest and whether any potential delay that they may have in actually sorting out organics has any effect on our action tonight. I assume not, since I think our legal obligation is just to have an ordinance, but I just wanted to make sure that any legal hashings that the JPA is currently undertaking isn't going to affect our legal obligation.
You're correct. It won't. So the city's requirement to adopt the ordinance is not affected by the bid protest. And I understand there's a Brown Act issue that's possibly been raised with that as well. That doesn't change the timeline here. And the city will be in compliance once this ordinance is adopted. So for purposes of the city and what the city needs to do under the ordinance, under state law, the ordinance will meet that requirement. There's still sorting requirements that happen separately, and that's beyond what's required of the city under state law.
Okay, thank you for that. When do you know, I guess I should ask, do you know when Recology plans to really start the outreach efforts into educating all of us about putting them into the gray bin versus just any of the bins? Because as we've talked about, and as I've brought forward concern that hasn't been made clear. So do we have any knowledge, like once, has Recology already started that outreach effort, or will that be something in the future?
So the city managers had conversations with them specifically on this. I'll defer to him, but I will say the regulations do require specific outreach starting February and also in April and then starting July. So it's a matter of weeks that this outreach is required.
I wanted to follow up on that. I did find it was a little interesting that the ordinance does just say a designated container, and then the fact that it's the Recology that will determine what that designation is. I respect the fact that they're looking for flexibility should they need to change that. They're aiming for the gray can now. But what I don't want to have happen is that the city gets caught not knowing. And so, people are asking us and we're giving them information that we think is right, but gosh, they changed it. It's now the new purple container that we didn't even know about. And so I'm just a little concerned there. I think that it's important that we all be very clear as to what container it is. And so I'm just a little bit concerned about that, the vagueness of that. Again, I respect that they don't want to have to change it, the ordinance every time, but I don't know how we can have assurances that we will know at all times if there's a change, when there's a change, and what's effective, and so forth. Because that's the last thing I want, is someone to ask me which bin, and I tell them to put it in the bin and it's wrong.
Yeah, maybe I'll respond to that. So the designated bin, at the end of the day, it's going to be the Placer County Waste Management Authority that's going to determine which bin it goes in. Their process is just literally getting started right now. But we left the designated bin in case something was to change at the landfill. And to your point, having the public information, when are we going to start getting started? As soon as we think that we have the direction, the ordinance says February, we will absolutely start the outreach on this. as quickly as we can, because getting in line with the waste management, which bin it goes in, conceivably right now, nothing changes. If people are putting their food waste into the gray bin versus the organic bin. So first, we are, as we have the light from the Waste Management Authority, we will begin communicating with folks about that. Also with Recology in getting them to start pushing this, they're waiting for us to have an adopted ordinance, and they will start moving it forward. And from one of the things that we, both the city attorney and I are going to start working on is a new franchise agreement with Recology. It simply needs to happen. 1383 is probably our waste management system right now is defined by a piece of legislation called AB 939, and 1383 is probably an equal to that, because at the end of all this, we're going to be required to take almost 75% of our organic waste out of the waste stream, which is a massive number. So we will be sitting down with Recology, figuring out how they're going to do the program, and that will all be coming back, and that will promulgate a whole public information campaign about things, and also addressing an education to try and reduce overall organic waste, because it's not only disposal, but getting programs in place, which will include composting and trying to get people to actually reduce the amount of food that goes into the waste stream.
Can I follow up on my question, John? Thank you for that. And noting the fact that for most of us, it sounds like there's not going to be any change in our behavior. We're still going to put it in the gray bin. But have you heard, are there any restrictions? Does the food have to go outside of a plastic trash can or trash bag? Most people obviously are just throwing their food waste in the trash bag and then taking it out into the gray dumpster. Are there any restrictions in how we package it in that gray bin, or is it in the gray bin? It's in the gray bin.
So the information that's comes out right now is that it just goes into the gray bin. That's it. We've not heard nor seen anything that necessarily infers that it's going to go into any type of a separate container. In some jurisdictions, they are looking at separate containers. We aren't doing that. As the information that's come out of the MRF thus far is that it just goes into the gray container. So we will start educating folks about it, but we'll see where it all goes.
So do we have a staff person who will be dedicated to do this? Is that going to be you? Looks like
There's a
by your
plan
expression.
in the works. There's a plan in the works.
We have to work on this, because I think 1383 is going to be a hustle for all of us. It's
Okay,
going to
so-
require work.
Okay,
It
so
absolutely
that's
will.
something we can look forward to is having maybe a dedicated person.
Or a percentage of a person.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any
Um,
other comments?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, when we do that, when they begin this educational outreach, I would really like to have something that's coming out from the city and Recology, not just Recology. I think that really ensures that we then know exactly what's happening at the same time. So I'd like to have a joint, at least for the first couple things, I'd like to have a joint press release or whatever, a joint rollout. I'd like that to be, since really they are our contractor, but I just to keep us all in the loop and we all understand the same thing at the same time. So that would be my request.
Very good, thank you. And public, do I have any comments? Yes, would you like to step forward? State your name, please.
Donna Silva, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
My concern, I think I understood you to say that the ordinance currently requires weekly trash service, but because Recology only offers weekly trash service, you're proposing removing that requirement from the ordinance. Is that what, do I understand that correctly?
it was an option?
It's just a little clarification on that. So currently it does require weekly service. That's what Recology provides. There was a process in the previous version of the ordinance to allow service every other week. But Recology does not offer the every other week service. So they requested that it stay with just every week service. So really, practically speaking, nothing changes. It's a change in the ordinance that doesn't change anything on the ground because Recology provides weekly service. That's what the ordinance will continue to require, and that's what everyone must have.
So the change to the ordinance is to remove the option for every other. but to
What happened
maintain
was
the requirement for weekly?
this version, the ordinance itself has come to us 3 times.
Yes.
And so what's happened is that in one of the earlier versions, that language was added in to allow for, it was just sort of some regular language, like standard language. And so when we drafted the ordinance, we just pulled that standard language in there, but it didn't apply to us because we only have weekly. And so they're just taking that out, saying, hey, we don't offer that option. So that little canned language that you were trying to be helpful doesn't help. So it was never in the actual adopted. It's just the
Original
third iteration.
Okay, good. My interest as a resident was to ensure that the ordinance continued to require at least weekly service.
Yes.
I didn't want it removed. Okay.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
That
Thank
part
you.
has not changed. Mhm.
Thank you.
Sorry, I knew that was. If there's no other public comment, I will, let's see here, I will move that we adopt, actually, this is an adoption. I'm trying to find a recommendation here.
First page.
Introduced by title only and waive the first reading of the ordinance, adding chapter 54 to title 5 of the Auburn Municipal Code regarding mandatory organic waste disposal and related requirements under Senate Bill 1383 and Senate Bill 1383 regulations.
I'll second that.
Councilmember Spokley,
Yes.
Berlant,
Aye.
Dowden Calvillo,
Aye.
Riddell Harris. Aye. And Mayor Amara.
Yes. Thank you very much. Council City Manager report.
Mayor and council, a couple of items. Just as an FYI, we're actually going to be hustling on trying to get a couple of grant proposals out due by February 1st. We've gotten some information about some grants that might be able to help supplant maybe some of the ARPA money for at least one of the infrastructure projects, specifically the looking at streetscape, high street, those types of projects. The second project is a very intriguing project for down in the School Park Preserve. I'll give a shout out. We've had some really good residents that have really stepped up. April Maynard,
Mike Lumber.
Mike Lemberg, and Glenn Kramer. It just all of a sudden it rained over the weekend of all this information. Some of the folks have actually written some of the information on it, but can't say enough. I had a meeting on Friday via Zoom with April. We're going to start lining these things up, and we're going to do our best to see what we can get out. So there might be at least enabling resolution on 2 grants showing up at the next council meeting. Internally, staff's working on strategic planning, and I can tell you that I've been meeting with each one of the various departments on setting everything up. The framework is going to follow 3 basic concepts. First, the council in 2 of the workshops elicited 8 priorities that you felt were important, everything from a very effective government, fiscal sustainability, infrastructure, economic development, the airport, the culture of Auburn and keeping it a small town. Staff is going to be working on multi-year plans that will bring alignment of departmental operations, things like safety with the overall goals that are priorities that the council has put together. But at the end of the day, we'll look for organizational alignment with the council goals. So look for those things to be coming back to the council, both prior and as part of the city's budget process. I think everybody's sick and tired of hearing about COVID. I'm tired of it. Some of the things that we've had to do at City Hall, we're constantly evaluating those and look for, at least as far as the public access for meetings and things here at the City Hall building. We'll reevaluate those things on a month-to-month basis on things. Finally, the one thing I'd like to point out tonight, I tell everybody that probably one of the most terrifying things about being a city manager are our public safety employees and the things that they have to encounter every day. And tonight's the anniversary of a city manager's worst nightmare. It's the third anniversary of the murder of a Davis police officer, Natalie Corona. Imagine a night where all of a sudden your phone really blows up, and pretty soon you're moving dispatch people into a dispatch center to replace dispatchers in another agency that are devastated by the fact that one of their coworkers has just been murdered. Imagine firefighters that are responding to an agency where firefighters have actually been shot at. Imagine, there is an amazing thing that's happening in law enforcement, and that's where you're seeing the diversity, the introduction and the prominence of women in law enforcement, the changes in approach. Natalie Corona represented all of that. She represented the potential and the future of that. And the murder of Natalie left quite an impression. Sadly, just a few months later, a young SAC PD officer, Tara O'Sullivan, was murdered in a similar type of thing. Tonight's the third anniversary of Natalie's murder, and it's something that always should remind us of the roles that all of our first responders have to deal with on a daily basis. In so many ways, your heart cries for what happened to Officer Corona, but also you have to sit back and understand the legacy, and you have to move forward in a positive manner of various things. I can tell you that the city manager of Davis is a very good friend of mine, and the impacts that it had on their organization of law enforcement in the Sacramento region was massive. So I'm just pointing that anniversary out tonight, and that's my report.
Thank you very much. City Council committee reports. Would you like to go first?
Sure. I have just a couple things. First of all, today was my first meeting as the Region 3 representative for the Sacramento Valley Division of the League of Cities. It was a Zoom meeting. It went very well. I was already able to contribute some information about fire hazard mitigation. In fact, I might be making a commitment. I'll get with John about that for a program coming up for the Sacramento Valley Division membership meeting in Folsom in March. So very exciting, good things happening there. So I will continue to keep you apprised of my involvement there. Also on the Endurance Capital of the World Committee, you will be having an item come before you with regards to the sign, the Auburn Endurance Capital of the World logo sign that was proposed to be installed outside of City Hall. So the committee will be bringing that before the council for discussion and action. Formal
Thank you.
action. And then also just want to let you know that Pioneer Energy at our last meeting in December, we established, actually adopted rates for the upcoming year. And I'm very pleased to say that at this point, Placer County customers would realize a discount to PG&E's generation rate of approximately 18.4% per kilowatt hour. So Pioneer remains the best choice financially for our residents here in Placer County and also El Dorado County now that we are providing service there too. The discount to El Dorado County is a little bit smaller. So that was a great meeting, lots of discussion. It was not a unanimous decision on that. for the majority of us, it was very important that we keep those rates down. So, and some wanted to maybe generate a little bit more reserve. So, and that's all that I have to report today.
I have a question. You're involved with Pioneer, or maybe staff can say, I had a call asking who changes the street lights? Is it PG&E or our staff?
PG&E.
It's PG&E. Okay,
Now,
like in Old
both.
Town.
The answer is both. There are some streetlights that are owned by us, but the vast majority of them, everything on a pole and all the Cobra heads belong to PG&E, but there are some that belong to us.
Because some are being replaced with very bright lights as opposed to the warm lights. And I think that's something maybe we're going to have to look at in coming up.
Part of that has to do with, there's actually regulations on going out as
LEDs.
far as the lights. Strategically, I'll find out who on our staff has input in that.
Okay,
Certain corridors, you want brighter lights. In the neighborhoods, obviously you want
okay,
lesser. So let me get some information
okay.
on that.
I'll discuss. Thank
if
you.
the-
Anyway, thank you for your report.
Hey Sandy, if the issue is that they're too bright for like neighborhoods or people surrounding, you actually can put directional things on the edges of them. So there are ways of calling either PG&E or us and putting things on it to help it so that there's not extra light in places it shouldn't be. So that's an option too.
Great, thank you. Part of the issue was just putting the bright lights like in Old Town. It kind of takes away from our historic, old warm lighting, the way we used to have it. So anyway, but I can discuss that with you. Councilman Spokely, would you like to?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. We did not have any SACOG committee meetings in January. We'll start those up again in February. We do have a SACOG board meeting next Thursday, and we have, of course, EDC tomorrow night. So
Thank
we'll
you.
have more to report at our next meeting.
Thank you very much. And Councilman Berlant?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Two things before I move to committee reports. I would note the PG&E did give a presentation to this council probably 5 or 6 years ago related to their LED upgrade project. And so maybe it's time to have them back to discuss that. But just want to note they did come in front of council prior. And then I did have a follow-up question I wasn't able to ask to our city manager related to City Hall closure. In your, you just talked about tonight related to public meetings. Your update was a teeny bit vague, and I've had a number of residents call concerned that their planning items that are in front of the planning department aren't going to be able to be moved forward. Can you just confirm City Hall, as far as city services, is still up and running?
Yes, City Hall, 100% open. The only thing that we have basically put a hold on, except for the council meetings, which we're doing hybrid. All committee and commission meetings will be held. They just have to be hybrid, I'm sorry. They are going to be virtual. And for all of the meetings that are held during the day, where groups would be coming in to meet at City Hall with our while our employees are here. I will share with you that the reason why we're kind of putting on our hat as an employer, the exposure of our employees and having organized meetings here is an issue. We do have one meeting that is being held by a private group that is going to be held on an off day when we don't have employees here. And I've told them that they can do that, but meetings where it just is going to result in a gathering while our employees are here, all of those are just canceled until we'll evaluate everything at the end of this month.
But the bottom line is City Hall is open and running alive and well. Does that answer your question, Councilman Berlant?
Yeah, because I don't know if the rest of you have gotten calls, but I had a handful over the weekend. So it may warrant some clarification, but thank you, John. For my reports, I just have two. attended last week the Chamber of Commerce's Government Affairs and Economic Development Subcommittee. Lots of good discussion. They had a presentation by our own EDC, which I thought was incredibly helpful to know kind of some of the back end workings of what the committee is looking to do related to their various grants or funding opportunities. Highly recommend that our representatives to that committee think about or commission bringing that in front of council, because it was very knowledgeable. I hadn't heard it before, but the GAED at the chamber was very appreciative of what was said. And then they also received an update from the Gold Country Fairgrounds, another one that has gone in front of the Board of Supervisors, as well as now the Chamber of Commerce. Lots of good things going on at the fairgrounds. One thing that I wanted to bring to your attention that was discussed, and again, maybe a good one for discussion for us, is there's some willingness by, it sounds like the state of California, to take the fairgrounds and actually turn them over and let them establish nonprofit entities to actually own and operate the fairgrounds, and whether they give away the land as well and it become part of this nonprofit group is somewhat up in the air. The fairgrounds has had issues over the years related to lack of state funding, related to fees that they have to pay. Many people don't realize the Gold Country Fairgrounds is actually a state-run facility, even though it has a local board that is appointed though by the governor. So again, lots of good stuff happening, and potentially some major changes to the way the fairgrounds is governed and run. And they may be looking to us as a council to weigh in our support. So again, a couple good items there at the Chamber of Commerce. And then also attended the Auburn Arts Commission, my first time on that commission in my nearly now going on 8 years. And man, was I overwhelmed. They are doing a lot of things. City manager mentioned one of those items at the School Park Preserve that they are underway. It's, I would say, on the magnitude, no different than the art park, kitty corner from Central Square, as far as just the size of the overall project and the relevance in our community. They'll be working on a presentation, I believe. I know April's on tonight, but to come before council, as John mentioned, they are working on a pretty large grant to try to fund some of those efforts. That's just one of what turned out to be, I think, a dozen plus various projects on their agenda. That was very exciting, very dedicated group. I mean, I don't need to say that to this group. I know you all know. The other thing, though, I did want to briefly mention is they are looking at doing a potential another spring version of the Auburn Community Service Day. We used to do it in the spring. We have in the last couple of years, due to fires, COVID, had to move it to the summer and even into the fall. So look for potential Auburn Community Service Day co-sponsored or under the umbrella again for the second year under the Auburn Arts Commission. So lots of good things. Very excited about what they have in store for 2022. And then just one last item on that I wanted to bring up to the other commissions. We had a lot of discussion the other night, and I think they had it previous with Councilwoman Riddell Harris as their liaison, related to just the governance and the finance procedures for procurement, contracting, just purchasing supplies. John and I had a really good conversation about the potential need that your committees may need, especially those committees under the city's umbrella, just to ensure that we're all of our committees are spending, buying, and procuring things following the normal procedures. And since we have a new finance director and a relatively new city manager, it would be good to hear from him in front of at least the Auburn Arts Commission, but I would definitely welcome that consistent message to the other commissions as well, so that we're just all following the same internal procedures. With that, Madam Mayor, that's all I have to report.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Riddell Harris.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't have a lot this evening. I did have a quick question for John about his report in regards to strategic planning. I know that you were talking about some dates in February. If you could let us know what you think those dates are going to be as soon as possible, because I just know that my February is already starting to fill up. So if you're thinking about some specific dates, that would be great to get those on the calendar. And then also in regards to Pioneer, which was brought up, I know that we had a member of the public asking, I think at the last meeting about, or maybe the one before, about when we're signing up for that 100% green energy program with them. And I know I've brought it up in the past, so I just was hoping that we could get an update on when that might be possible to get signed up for. So whether this meeting or next meeting, just hoping to kind of get a ETA on when we might be able to get signed up for that, since it was already in the budget. And then as far as meetings, we have the EDC meeting tomorrow. I'm meeting with ARD this month. There's lots and lots of meetings in the agenda. There's been a lot of meetings that were kind of canceled or held over because of the holidays. So looking forward to hearing about all the exciting things that are going on this year. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. And for me, I did attend Roger Lupkeman's funeral and issued a commendation for him on behalf of the city. There was a very good turnout for him, and that was at the Holiday Inn the other day. Also, I'm working on the sustainability website with one other member. We're getting that going, up and running. It should be really, you'll be impressed. And then I did want to say we have a couple of our committees that are working in conjunction. Councilman Berlant, it indicated that the Arts Commission is working on the park to make that into a little park area right here behind City Hall. And they're working with the sustainability group. So it'll be solar and then a park. And that's exciting that they're working together, and hopefully we can get, that'll be realized. Obviously it's a long ways to go, but they're doing the best they can. And yeah, shout out to all those committee members that are working so hard. And also the mosquito vector, I just really like some of their reports that they give out. So I just wanted to say adult mosquito abundance traps are being collected. Invasive mosquito traps have been brought in for the season, and they put that out in spring of 22. And adult mosquitoes will continue to be tested throughout the fall and winter. Tick-borne disease testing and from surveillance collection is the primary focus during winter and spring. So I just want you to know that the mosquito group they're working very hard and protecting all of us. Interesting fact, the West Nile virus, there's a total of 6 new cases of West Nile virus reported from Fresno, 1 from Fresno, Kern 4, San Mateo 1. So we're pretty good to go right here. There is the St. Louis encephalitis virus, no new cases reported. Dead birds were reported, and they test those. Positive dead bird tests have been reported in 19 counties. Positive WNV, doesn't sound good. The West Nile virus, there's 1 new positive mosquito pool that has been reported in Orange County. So anyway, I'm just want to give you, I attend these meetings, and they really do work hard to protect us, and it's an important group. So a shout out to them. And anyway, that's my end of my report. And with that, if there's nothing else, I will adjourn the meeting. So the meeting